Meditations on Anger. Seneca's Stoic wisdom for controlling rage, frustration, resentment, and reactive emotions. Ancient Roman Philosophy for Emotional Mastery and Modern Self-Control by Aurelian Hart. Introduction. "They are calling for blood, Lucius," the soldier whispered, his voice shaking as he leaned against the cold stone wall. "The city is half gone. The people are screaming in the streets. They want to know why the gods allowed this. They want to know why the emperor hasn't stopped the smoke." Lucius Annaeus Seneca did not turn away from the window. Outside, the sky over Rome was a sick, bruised purple. The smell of charred wood and burnt fabric hung heavy in the air. "They do not want the gods, Gallio," Seneca replied, his voice low and steady. "They want a target. Rage is a hungry animal. If you do not give it meat, it eats the person carrying it." "But the emperor is looking for someone to blame," the soldier pressed. "He is talking about the Christians. He says their anger at our gods caused the fire. He wants to round them up. He wants to make them pay." Seneca finally turned. His face was lined with age and the weight of many years spent serving a man who was slowly losing his mind. "Then the fire in the streets is nothing compared to the fire in the palace. A building can be rebuilt. But once a man gives his soul over to rage, there is no stone left standing. He becomes a ghost in his own house." It was 64 CE, and Rome was burning. The Great Fire was eating the heart of the most powerful city on earth. In the middle of the chaos, people were looking for someone to hate. They felt that if they could just find someone to punish, their pain would go away. They thought their anger was a tool for justice. Seneca knew better. He had spent his life watching how anger worked. He had seen it destroy families, end friendships, and topple leaders. He saw that when we get angry, we think we are taking control. In reality, we are becoming slaves. We think we are the ones holding the sword, but we are actually the ones being cut. The fire that never goes out. Most of us don't live in a city that is literally on fire. We don't have to worry about a Roman emperor blaming us for a national disaster. But we all know what that purple sky feels like inside our own heads. Think about the last time someone cut you off in traffic, or the time a coworker took credit for your hard work, or the moment you realized your spouse forgot something important for the third time this week. In those seconds, a spark jumps. Your chest gets tight. Your face gets hot. Your heart starts to drum against your ribs. For a moment, you feel powerful. That surge of heat feels like fuel. You want to say the thing that stings. You want to send the email that ends the argument once and for all. You want to slam the door or raise your voice, because in that moment, it feels right. It feels like you are finally standing up for yourself. But then, the fire dies down. You are left standing in the ashes of your own behavior. You look at the look on your child's face after you snapped at them. You see the awkward silence in the office after your honest feedback. You feel the headache that always comes after a fight. This is the cycle of the reactive life. Most of us spend our days reacting to the world like a thermometer. If the world is hot, meaning things are stressful or people are mean, our mood goes up. If the world is cold, meaning we are being ignored or things are slow, our mood drops. We are at the mercy of every red light, every rude comment, and every broken appliance. We tell ourselves that we have to be this way. We say things like, "I just have a short fuse. They knew exactly how to push my buttons. If I don't get angry, people will walk all over me. It's just how I'm wired." Seneca argued that these are all lies we tell ourselves to feel better about losing control. He called anger a temporary insanity. He pointed out that when we are angry, we don't look like ourselves. Our eyes bulge, our voices change, and we say things we would never say if we were in our right minds. We are, for a few minutes or hours, literally out of our heads. The problem is that these few minutes can ruin years of work. A reputation that took a decade to build can be burned down by one 30-second outburst. A marriage that survived lean years can be poisoned by a decade of small, biting resentments. The man in the rearview mirror, Marcus Thorne, knows this cycle better than anyone. Marcus is 42 years old and works as a senior logistics manager for a global shipping firm in Chicago. His life is measured in minutes and miles. If a ship is late in Singapore, Marcus hears about it. If a truck breaks down in Nebraska, Marcus has to fix it. His job is a pressure cooker, and Marcus has become the steam. On a Tuesday afternoon, Marcus was sitting in his SUV on I-90. The traffic was a dead crawl. He was already late for a meeting that could decide his promotion. Suddenly, a bright yellow delivery van swerved into his lane, missing his bumper by an inch. Marcus didn't just honk. He exploded. He leaned on the horn until his hand hurt. He screamed words at the closed window that he would never want his mother to hear. His face turned a deep, scary shade of purple. He felt a weird buzzing in his ears. For those 10 seconds, he wanted to ram his car into that van. He wanted the driver to feel the same panic he felt. Then the traffic shifted. Marcus caught a glimpse of himself in the rearview mirror. He didn't recognize the man looking back. His eyes were wide and bloodshot. His mouth was twisted into a snarl. He looked like an animal trapped in a cage. As the heat began to fade, a familiar feeling took its place, a heavy, cold weight in his stomach. It was the feeling of being exhausted by his own mind. Marcus is a high-functioning rager. He doesn't get into physical fights. He doesn't break things. Instead, he uses sarcasm like a knife at work. He brings a cold cloud home with him every night. His wife Sarah has started walking on eggshells around him. His 8-year-old son, Leo, stops talking when Marcus walks into the room. Marcus tells himself that his anger is his fuel. He thinks it's what makes him a great manager. "If I wasn't tough, these shipments would never move," he says. But deep down, he is terrified. He is tired of the inner noise. He is tired of replaying arguments in his head while he's trying to fall asleep. He wants to stop being a slave to his own reactions, but he doesn't know how to turn the heat down. A promise of mastery. It is for anyone who has ever felt like their emotions are a car with no brakes. The goal isn't just to calm down. We aren't looking for a quick fix or a way to pretend that everything is okay when it isn't. Instead, we are looking for emotional mastery. By the time you finish these pages, you will no longer be a thermometer. You will become a thermostat. A thermometer just tells you how hot the room is. A thermostat decides what the temperature is going to be. When you become a thermostat of your own life, you develop a mental gap between what happens to you and how you respond. When someone insults you, you won't have to insult them back. When a plan fails, you won't have to spiral into despair. When you feel the spark of rage, you will know exactly how to keep it from becoming a forest fire. You will learn how to build what the Stoics called the inner citadel. This is a place inside your mind that no boss, no traffic jam, and no ungrateful family member can ever enter. It is a core of calm that allows you to make rational decisions when everyone else is panicking. This transformation isn't about becoming a robot. It's not about losing your passion or your drive. In fact, you will find that you have more energy once you stop wasting it on useless fury. You will find that you are more effective, more respected, and most importantly, more at peace. Why ancient Rome still matters. You might wonder why we are looking at a man who lived 2,000 years ago to solve problems in the 21st century. What could a Roman philosopher possibly know about emails, social media, or Chicago traffic? The truth is that human nature hasn't changed. The things that made people angry in the Roman Forum are the exact same things that make us angry today. The feeling of being treated unfairly, the shock of things not going our way, the fear of losing status or power, the annoyance of dealing with difficult people. Seneca wasn't just a guy who sat on a hill thinking deep thoughts. He was a statesman. He was one of the richest men in the world. He was a playwright and a lawyer. He was also the tutor and advisor to Nero, one of the most violent and impulsive emperors in history. Seneca lived in a world where a wrong word could get you executed. He lived through exile, political plots, and the collapse of his society. He didn't write about anger because he was a naturally calm person. He wrote about it because he was surrounded by it. He had to develop these tools to stay alive and keep his soul intact. His most famous work on this topic, De Ira, on anger, wasn't written for a classroom. It was written as a letter to his brother Novatus, who had asked for help controlling his temper. It is a practical, step-by-step manual for the human mind. In this book, we are going to take Seneca's battle-tested wisdom and apply it to our modern lives. We will look at the science of the brain and see how Seneca's observations from 2 millennia ago actually match up with what we know about the amygdala and the nervous system today. The path ahead. We are about to go on a journey from reactivity to mastery. To do this, we have to look at anger from every angle. We will start by looking at why small things steal our peace. We'll follow Seneca to a rocky island in the Mediterranean where he was sent into exile. We'll see how he managed to stay calm when everything he owned was taken away. This will help us understand the concept of preconception, the secret reason why we get upset by things that shouldn't matter. Next, we will look at the first movement of anger. We'll learn a trick from Julius Caesar that helps us burn the fuel of anger before it can start a fire. We will dive into the stoic breath, a way to use your body to force your mind to settle down. We will also spend time looking at the dark side of this emotion. We'll watch the rise and fall of Nero, a man who had everything but couldn't control his own impulses. His life serves as a warning of what happens when we let the temporary insanity take over for good. Along the way, we will meet Cato the Younger, a man who was so in control of himself that he didn't even blink when someone spat in his face. His story will show us that true strength isn't about how much noise you make. It's about how much you can endure without losing your dignity. We will tackle the stories we tell ourselves. You know the ones. He did that on purpose. Or she's trying to make me look bad. We'll learn how to dismantle these traps using a technique called premeditatio malorum, the art of being prepared for the worst so it can never ruin your day. Finally, we will look at the long game. We'll see how Marcus Thorne deals with a crisis that would have broken the old Marcus. We'll learn how to sustain a quiet mind even when the world around us is in chaos. The first step transformation doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. Right now, you might feel like Marcus Thorne. You might feel like your anger is a part of who you are. You might feel like the world is just too frustrating to ever be truly calm. That's okay. Seneca would tell you that the fact that you want to change is the most important part. He believed that the mind is like a muscle. If you train it, it gets stronger. If you leave it alone, it gets weak and flabby. You are holding the training manual. As we move forward, try to keep an open mind. Some of these ideas might feel strange at first. You might think that not getting angry means being a doormat. You will soon see that the opposite is true. The person who cannot be made angry is the most powerful person in any room. They are the only ones who are truly free. The fire in Rome eventually went out. The smoke cleared. Life went on. The fires in your life, the stress, the resentment, the hair-trigger temper, can go out too. You can build a life where you are the master of your house, not a ghost hiding in the corner. Chapter 1. Why do we let small things steal our peace? The morning sun in Rome during the year 41 CE did not feel like a threat. It touched the marble columns of the great houses with a soft, gold light. Inside one of these houses, Lucius Annaeus Seneca sat in a room filled with the scent of old scrolls and expensive oil. He was a man who had reached the very top of the world. He was a famous speaker, a writer people loved, and a friend to the most powerful families in the empire. Everything was quiet. He could hear the distant hum of the city waking up, the wheels of carts on stone streets, and the calls of vendors selling bread. Seneca had every reason to feel safe. He had wealth, a high rank, and a mind that was respected by the brightest people in Rome. In this moment of stillness, the world seemed to be under his control. Then came the heavy sound of sandals on the floor. It wasn't the light step of a servant. It was the rhythmic, metallic clank of Roman soldiers. In a single hour, Seneca's life was torn apart. He was accused of a crime he likely did not commit. The Emperor Claudius, pushed by his wife Messalina, ordered Seneca to be stripped of his property and his status. He was told he had to leave Rome immediately. He was being sent to Corsica, a wild and rocky island far from the center of the world. To a Roman elite like Seneca, this was worse than a death sentence. It was a slow erasure. He was being tossed away like trash onto a barren rock in the middle of the sea. As he stood on the deck of a ship, watching the coast of Italy fade into a thin blue line, Seneca felt the heat rising in his chest. This is the moment where most people break. This is the first movement of the mind, when the world does something we didn't plan for, and our insides start to boil. He had every right to be furious. He could have spent his days screaming at the waves, cursing the emperor, and letting resentment eat his heart like a poison. But as the ship hit the rougher waters near Corsica, Seneca began to do something different. He began to look at the smallness of the things he had lost. He began to study why humans feel so much pain when their plans go wrong. He realized that the anger he felt wasn't caused by the emperor or the island. It was caused by his own ideas about how his life was supposed to go. The island of the mind. Corsica was a brutal place. There were no marble libraries there. There were no fancy dinners or crowds of people waiting to hear him speak. It was just wind, salt, and jagged stones. Most of the people who lived there didn't even speak his language well. For the first few months, the silence of the island was loud. Each time Seneca looked at the horizon, he was reminded of what was gone. He felt the temporary insanity that comes when we feel we have been treated unfairly. This is the state where our logic disappears, and we become like a wild animal caught in a trap. We bite at everything, even the hands trying to help us. Seneca noticed that his anger didn't make the island any softer. It didn't make the food taste better, or the emperor change his mind. In fact, the more he hated his situation, the more the island hurt him. He was suffering twice, once from the exile and once from his own rage about the exile. He started to write. He wrote a letter to his mother, Helvia, to comfort her. In that letter, he laid out a discovery that would change the way people looked at emotions for the next 2,000 years. He argued that a person's peace is like a suitcase. It is portable. If you carry your peace inside you, it doesn't matter if you are in a palace or on a rock. He realized that we let small things steal our peace because we have a false map of the world in our heads. We walk around expecting the world to be smooth. We expect people to be fair. We expect the weather to be nice and the traffic to be clear. When the world doesn't match our map, we get angry. We feel like the world is breaking a rule, but the world doesn't have any rules about being nice to us. The rocks on Corsica didn't care that Seneca was a famous writer. The wind didn't stop blowing because he was once a senator. Seneca realized that the secret to staying calm was to change the map, not the world. He had to stop expecting things to go his way. The office tower and the ticking clock. Thousands of miles away and 2,000 years later, Marcus Thorne sat in a very different kind of palace. His office in Chicago was made of glass and steel. He could see the river winding below him, filled with boats that he managed through a complex web of shipping routes. Marcus was a man who prided himself on being on top of it. He had a schedule that was timed down to the minute. He had a team of people who were supposed to be as efficient as he was. But on this Tuesday morning, the map in Marcus's head was being torn to pieces. A junior analyst named Kevin had missed a deadline. It wasn't a huge deadline, just a minor report for a Friday meeting, but to Marcus, it felt like a betrayal. He felt that familiar heat in his chest. It started as a small spark. How could he be so lazy thought. Marcus looked at the empty space in his inbox, where the report should have been. He felt his heart rate speed up. He felt his jaw tighten. He was about to pick up the phone and tear Kevin's head off. He wanted to make Kevin feel as small as Marcus felt frustrated. He felt justified. After all, work is about discipline, right? If people don't do their jobs, they should hear about it. In that moment, Marcus was in the grip of the temporary insanity. He wasn't thinking about how to get the report done. He was thinking about how to punish the person who had messed up his plan. Then, Marcus caught a glimpse of himself in the glass of his office window. He saw a man with a red face and a mean look. He looked like a stranger. He remembered a line he had read recently about Seneca on his island. Seneca had lost everything, His home, his money, his friends. Marcus had only lost 20 minutes of his time. He asked himself a question. Is this missed report worth my soul? It sounds like a big question for a small problem, but that's exactly what Seneca was teaching. Every time we let a small frustration turn into a rage, we are trading a piece of our character for a moment of screaming. We are letting a junior analyst in Chicago or an emperor in Rome decide whether we get to be happy today. He didn't send the mean email he had already typed out. He took a breath and looked out at the river. He realized that Kevin was just a human who made a mistake. The rule in Marcus's head that everyone must be perfect all the time was a lie. Marcus chose to send a different email. It was short. Hey Kevin, I noticed the report isn't in. Is everything okay? Let's get it done by noon. The heat in Marcus's chest didn't vanish instantly, but it stopped growing. He had refused to give the fire any more wood. He had realized that his office wasn't a prison unless he made it one with his temper. Why the small stuff hurts so much? Seneca called this problem prolepsis. In simple terms, it means pre-thinking or preconception. We all have a set of ideas about how the day should go before we even get out of bed. We think the coffee should be hot. We think the car should start. We think our spouse should be in a good mood. We think the internet should be fast. These aren't just hopes, they are demands. We feel that we are owed these things. When the coffee is cold or the internet is slow, we feel like we have been robbed. We feel an injustice has occurred. Seneca's big insight was that anger always requires a yes. Something happens, the first movement, like someone cutting you off in traffic. Your brain sends a flash of, hey, that's not right. That part is a reflex. You can't really stop it. But then comes the second movement. This is where you agree with the flash. You say to yourself, yes, I should be mad. That guy is a jerk and he needs to be taught a lesson. The Stoics believe that if we can stop that yes, the anger dies in the cradle. The reason we say yes so often is because we are surprised. We are shocked that the world is messy. Seneca's time on Corsica taught him that nothing should be a surprise. He told his students that we should live as if everything could be taken away at any moment. This sounds gloomy, but it's actually the key to a quiet mind. If you know that people can be rude, you aren't shocked when someone is rude to you. If you know that things break, you don't scream when the glass falls on the floor. He used the example of a traveler. If a traveler knows the road is going to be muddy and full of thieves, he prepares himself. He brings boots and a sword. He doesn't stand in the mud and cry about why the road isn't paved with gold. But most of us walk through life expecting gold roads, and then we are furious when we get a little mud on our shoes. The cost of the outbursts. We often think that anger is a tool. We think it makes us look strong or helps us get what we want. Marcus Thorne thought this for years. He thought his office explosions kept people on their toes. He thought his irritability at home showed his family how hard he worked. But Seneca argued that anger is never a tool. It is a debt. Every time we use anger, we pay for it with our health, our reputation, and our peace of mind. Think about the physical cost. When you get angry at a small thing, like a slow waiter or a misplaced set of keys, your body goes into a state of emergency. Your heart pumps harder, your muscles tense up. Your brain stops thinking about the future and focuses only on the attack. If you do this 5 times a day, you are putting your body through a war that isn't even happening. You are wearing out your heart for the sake of a misplaced key. Then there is the social cost. People don't respect an angry person. They fear them or pity them. When Seneca was in Rome, he saw powerful men ruin their lives because they couldn't control their tempers. They would say things they couldn't take back. They would make enemies who would later wait for the right moment to strike. Seneca had no one to be angry at but himself and the rocks. This forced him to see that anger is a lonely emotion. It builds a wall between you and the rest of the world. Even when you are right, the anger makes you wrong in the way you handle it. He once wrote that no plague has cost the human race more. He wasn't talking about a disease that kills the body. He was talking about the sickness of the soul that makes us want to hurt others because we are hurting. He saw that wars, murders, and the ruin of cities all started with the same small feeling, we get when someone interrupts us while we are speaking. Building the portable peace. So how did Seneca survive those 8 years on a rock in the sea? He practiced. He didn't just think about philosophy, he lived it. He took walks on the shore and looked at the vastness of the ocean. He reminded himself that he was just a tiny speck in a giant universe. When you look at the stars or the sea, your huge problems start to look very small. This is a mental trick to reset your scale. If you think you are the center of the world, then a cold cup of coffee is a disaster. But if you realize you are one of billions of people on a spinning planet, a cold cup of coffee is just a cold cup of coffee. He also practiced gratitude for what he did have. Even on Corsica, he had his mind. He had his ability to think and write. He realized that the emperor could take his house, but he couldn't take his thoughts. This is the inner citadel. It is a fortress inside your mind where you can go to be safe from the world's noise. Marcus Thorne started building his own citadel in Chicago. He started small. When he was stuck in traffic on I-90, he didn't look at the other cars as enemies. He looked at them as other people trying to get home to their families, just like him. He stopped the yes before it could turn into a scream. He began to notice that when he stayed calm, his problems actually got solved faster. When he didn't yell at Kevin about the report, Kevin felt bad on his own and worked through his lunch break to finish it. The calm Marcus was much more powerful than the angry Marcus. The small things only steal our peace because we give them the keys to the house. We hand over our joy to the clerk who is slow. We hand over our dignity to the person who insults us. Seneca's message from his island is simple. Stop giving away your keys. The challenge. It is easy to be calm when everything is going well. Anyone can be a philosopher when they are sitting in a comfortable chair with a full stomach and a big bank account. The real test of your character isn't what you do on your best day. It's what you do on your worst. Think about your own life. What are the small things that currently rule you? Is it the way your coworker chews their food? Is it the red light that always seems to last too long? Is it the fact that your house is never as clean as you want it to be? Is it a comment someone made about you 3 years ago that you still play in your head? Every time you feel that spark of frustration, you are standing at a fork in the road. One way leads to the temporary insanity Seneca warned about. It leads to a red face, a loud voice, and a heart that feels like it's being squeezed. The other way leads to the island of peace. It leads to a breath, a shrug, and a realization that this moment doesn't have the power to break you. You are the one who decides how much a thing is worth. You are the one who sets the price on your peace. If you let a broken plate ruin your evening, you have decided that the plate is more valuable than your happiness. If you let a mean comment ruin your day, you have decided that a stranger's opinion is more important than your own self-worth. Seneca eventually left Corsica. He went back to Rome and faced even greater challenges. He had to deal with an emperor who was truly losing his mind. But the lessons he learned on that rock stayed with him. He had found a way to be free, even when he was in a palace full of danger. You don't need to be sent to a desert island to find this peace. You just need to change the way you look at the mud on your shoes. Look at your life right now. What is one thing you have been angry about this week that will not matter at all in 5 years? If it won't matter then, why does it get to steal your life now? The door to your inner fortress is right in front of you. All you have to do is stop saying yes to the rage. What small thing will you refuse to let win today? Chapter 2. Cooling the Embers of Early Frustration. The fires were already high by the time the sun began to set over the Greek countryside. It was 48 BCE, and the dirt was still dark with the blood of Roman soldiers. Julius Caesar stood in his tent, his chest heavy with the weight of a victory that felt more like a tragedy. He had just defeated his great rival Pompey in a civil war that had torn the world apart. Outside, the air smelled of smoke and sweat. His generals were celebrating, but they were also hungry for more blood. They wanted a list of names. They wanted to know which senators back in Rome had been writing secret letters to Pompey, urging him to kill Caesar. They wanted to know who had betrayed them so they could start the executions. A heavy wood